So a lot of our audience has probably been wondering, like, what is this theme song that they keep on hearing from the beginning and at the end?
Your audience and me, I was wondering too when I heard it. Yeah.
And it's actually something very, very near and dear to our heart. That is the voice of the legendary, late and great Joe Giambra, who is an incredible friend to all three of us and to our film and theater industry and music industry. And
Yeah. Joey was everything, man. And I think that he was, somewhat of like a mentor slash uncle father figure, to all of us, he meant something different to like each of us. So like at one point in time, he was my acting mentor. And then I had dibbled and dabbled in a different business in the restaurant industry. And Joey would come to my restaurant and do my inventory with me. He was just an amazing person, but just artist. He meant a lot to the artist community. So on that actual song. That's Joey, and he had to be in his 70s or 80s even singing that song. He never stopped creating up until the point he passed away, and that was off of his last album, that we all have, which was kind of like flooded with a lot of different music, but we all kind of felt that song, and that song, not only is it sung by him, but that song meant something to each of us, so we only thought it would be fitting.
He really, truly did have such an artistic and creative, like energy, stamina, like just burning passion.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, sometime in his late 70s, 80s, I remember we were doing a project, and it was with Vernice, and it was over on Main Street.
Oh, yeah, at the place they had, right.
They were doing a rehearsal. Joe was doing like a rehearsal of the scene, and it was going to be filmed, and I'm just watching this, observing and seeing at one point in the scene, he like falls on the ground. He's like rolling on the ground. And I just remember thinking like, this is like an older man who's got so much energy, and just
always.
Not a lot of people could do that, even at that age.
So I didn't know him, but I heard stories of him over the years, and hearing about him now makes me think I wish I knew him.
Oh, yeah.
But I heard over the years he used to be like an undercover cop or something.
Yeah.
He did everything. I don't think that there was like one profession that he didn't do, from like acting to, he played the trumpet. He was a detective. He owned several restaurants, the guy he did everything, man. And, he could, no matter what the topic was, he could always tell you a story.
Yeah.
And that's what we loved about him. He could always tell you a story that was relevant, to the topic that we were talking about and relevant now, in today's world. He was just an amazing
A lot
person.
of times it was a true life experience.
Oh, yeah. That was the most interesting part.
So many stories involving hugely named people, whether they were actors, musicians, Frank Sinatra, all kinds of people. Just stories of his interaction with them got to meet
he
them.
was the quintessential Buffalonian, I feel like.
Buffalo's Renaissance man, for sure.
He was. And, he was just so inspiring. Unfortunately, I didn't know him until, only a couple years before he passed. It was the first time I really met him. And just the way if he attached himself to you and saw something in you,
he made you better.
He made you better.
He made you better.
He did.
He
You know what I mean? And you get phone calls from him and just be like, how much he believed in you and how much you would want to run through the wall for him.
Right.
And like you said, he created to the very end. He was, I think a year before, he was on stage doing his Bread and Onions. And up until, I think, a few days before he went into the hospital for COVID, he called me and he was like, listen, I have this script. And I want to make this movie, and I want to make it a series. And he's like, and listen, I want you to direct this. I want you to do this. Days before, and I was all ready to go. And he's like, I want to make sure you, Harry and Peter take care of this story. And so it's something that we have in our back pocket, always. Remarkable. And, we just wanted to find a way to honor Joey as many ways as we can, and we have in the past, and we always will moving forward, because he was a believer in all three of us and in casting Buffalo and in the city in so many ways. And even with our newest feature in town, this Buffalo Bills story, like I keep on thinking like
Well, he was in Buffalo 66.
exactly
Yeah,
like
for
he
sure.
would have been in this movie. He would have,
No
you know what I
question.
mean? Like
No
no
question.
question. Like it was.
Absolutely.
I think every single time we look at a film, we look at casting. We're like,
He
okay,
pops
where
up.
would have Joey been?
Yeah.
He pops up all over the place, and he's now, I believe firmly, that he is like the archangel guardian of the Buffalo, Western New York arts community.
Oh,
he
yeah.
is the patron saint.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And if anyone is interested in seeing, like we're talking about, there is a mural of Joe Giambra alongside the Italian Cultural Center, right alongside the wall. Beautiful mural, painting of this man.
Frank Coppola.
Yeah, Frank Coppola actually painted a mural, and his legacy lives on, man. So you can see him there. You hear his music, in the opening credits and the ending, of our podcast, and we think about him every day. Long live Joey, man.
Every relationship like that, though, a mentor, can only be if they have wonderful mentees. So you to him must have also been very important. And this homage, really, it's amazing that you're doing that, opening up and closing with this every single time.
Yeah. It's something that I think when we were searching just for, how do we tonally do this as a podcast? And like we searched different ideas of like making our own or coming up with an intro, and it kept on always coming back to be like, we need Joey involved in some way.
Yeah.
And we always try to think about that. So I was lucky enough to direct a beautiful commercial for the Italian Cultural Center itself. And while I was doing it on the day, as part of one of the smaller TV spots for it, which had the wonderful Peter Palmisano in it as well, I said, okay, I have to get a shot with Joey's mural in the background, because I'm like, to me, it's like getting him in it on film one last time.
Yeah.
Find a way to, keep continuing that legacy. And we just hope that we keep doing him proud. It's one of those things that we know that our guardian angel's always over our shoulder, in everything we do. And the best part about it is if we weren't doing things correctly, he would tell us that too.
For sure. For sure.
But yeah, so he's always in our thoughts, and we're very very honored to have known him and keep his spirit alive in everything we do, which is, right now we're crazy busy.
I was going to say, hit us with an update, man. What's going on?
We're crazy busy. So, I mean, we're coming to a wrap of this holiday touchdown film, and we had some very emotional, moving days that we were able to,
The Buffalo love is real.
Oh, yeah.
Before you go off on this tangent here, from an outside perspective, looking in on the Bills film that I am, y'all are crushing it.
Well, thank
Thank you.
Awesome. The news, the PR you're getting, the big scenes you're putting together, all this is extremely impressive. And I just want to give you a kudos and
Well, thank
say,
you.
Thank
well
you.
done from an outside perspective, because you can talk about how great you are all you want. Third party.
Awesome,
Thank you.
man.
Yeah, I mean,
Approved.
we're in the weeds, so sometimes we don't, see where our work ends up until like the movie shows up. But we were able to help on these two gigantic stadium days that they were doing for a shoot, and we were, very inspired by all the Buffalo Bills Mafia fans who came in.
Oh, man.
Just to volunteer to be a part of this film, and it was very moving, those 2 days of seeing the camaraderie and how well behaved our
Oh,
extras
man. Everybody,
were.
listen, they were. Hold on. I got to say it. I got to talk about this, right? So, like, we didn't know what to expect on some of these stadium scenes. And, like,
We're talking hundreds of people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, thousands.
Lots
Yeah,
of
right?
personalities.
We're saying
Lots
thousands.
of
And,
personalities.
we didn't know if, people were going to come in, ready for game day like they always do, right? Like, we have the best fans, in the entire NFL. And, it was also a difference because they showed up. But they also showed up movie ready, right?
Yeah.
They showed
Nice.
up. People were, they were actively listening, participating, and the director and the producers couldn't be more happier.
Yeah.
So we wondered a couple episodes back, like, are people going to show up drunk, jump on a table, like with their own barbecue going on?
No, they were.
Was it super crisp? Was everyone on?
Everything was people showed up on time. I mean, they showed up in their proper Bills wardrobe,
Regalia.
paraphernalia.
Regalia.
And we've had several scenes, since then. I mean, that the stadium was definitely our largest crowd, but we've had a lot of big crowds, since then. And the film community, I think that it's more so a reflection of not only our sports fans, but just the overall Western New York community.
Yes.
Right. And they've showed up ready to work and to participate. And we expect big things from this movie.
Oh, yeah.
We really
for
do.
sure. I mean, it was just an awesome scene, and we had it 2 nights in a row. And the first night, it was just rain.
Oh, it was awful.
Storm. You know what I mean? And,
my gosh.
you had Julian Maloney and I kind of like front and center trying to get them. And the crowd loved it. They would listen.
Yeah.
They would, it was almost like working a crowd in general, like at like a comedy club.
I felt like I was watching a conductor.
It was, to make sure. And they were responsive and they were into it. And we were able to like have fun with them. And then night 2 was even crazier, even though like we didn't have as much interaction later as we go, but they were all invested in what was happening in front of them. And it was just, it was a very, very emotional, mesmerizing experience. And I think for our crew as well to be like, even if, because it was, end of the week 1, been through the, been through it all. And then it's like,
tired.
wow, this is why we do this.
Yeah. And all I can say is on day 1 of that stadium, I said to Kyle at one point, I said, do you think we can get him to do the wave? And he looked at me and he said, that's a tomorrow night thing. We had more people. And the next night, I did see them do that.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I
they
was
went into it.
satisfied. I was satisfied. I got the wave. We got the wave.
Yeah.
The wave was accomplished.
I have so many questions, but one, with the rain, how does that work out with their scene?
We'll find out.
Okay.
I mean, that's
You know what was
fixing in post, right?
what was cool though is that
It was more of a misting.
it was,
was.
But here's the thing: when you looked at it from like a perspective of like just being like, on the field, it looked like snow flurries.
It did.
Okay.
It really
okay.
did. It looked like
Especially,
snow
yeah,
flurries.
up to the lights
Absolutely.
at
Up
some
until the
point.
lights, it looked like snow flurries and a lot of precipitation. So I think that they'll still make out really good, in post.
Oh, yeah. It's,
And it was naturally cold.
yeah, well, that worked out too
Chilling.
because we were worried about, having all of these Bills fans in
Overheated.
overheated in winter gear and it be 80 degrees at night. And it wasn't. It was 30.
So to follow up with our previous episode too, how did it work out with the wardrobe? Did they just have thousands of Bills shirts and
It's-
everything?
No. They just
handing it out?
No, all we needed to do is wear Bills winter.
Just tell people
gear.
that, and then okay.
There was definitely a couple people.
Yeah, I
Right.
But that's, to give props
Yeah.
to costumes as
Yeah.
well as
They covered it.
they have stuff to
They
be
had
like,
it. Yeah.
no, put this
Gotcha.
on.
Yeah.
Cover this.
Yeah.
But then that's also part of our AD department too, and to look at monitor and Peter was right there helping them too of like, ooh, that doesn't look good. Let's move this person
we gotta
here.
fill in, yeah.
Let's fill in. Let's kind of paint that picture like Keith mentioned in the last episode. And but there is nothing to say like other than like it all worked out and it looked great.
Amazing.
And like we
Awesome.
can't wait to see what it ends up
Right.
on that final screen.
Yeah.
But one of the big things we want to talk about coming out of this film too is we had a lot of new faces that we were able to cast.
A lot of new, I think that's cool, man, because that tells us that we have a growing industry.
Yeah.
Right. We have a growing industry. A lot of times, we, especially with background or even day players, sometimes you get some of the same faces recycled. Right. And with this being a sports theme, along with the Buffalo Bills, we were able to give opportunities to a lot of
Yes.
new people, which I thought was satisfying.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that inspires a lot of people to come back and want to do this and
Yeah.
be part of this
They
community.
got the bug.
Yeah, exactly, to get the bug. Because, there's also reasons why sometimes a lot of people repeat because in film, and this is, a SAG, Screen Actors Guild production, it's got a SAG contract, is like there are so many people that we have to offer to that union first,
Mandated.
to make sure that we get as many union players as possible. But Buffalo is a small market, like it is in so many different ways, so once we fulfill that, now we have to open it up to new faces. So you'll see a lot of people repeat, but that's because we're fulfilling what, the union regulations are. But then there's this thing called a Taft-Hartley, and that is giving a union voucher to people who are non-union to have an opportunity to become eligible to join the union.
Yeah. It's a big thing. Let me just tell you, people travel all over the country. To get into the Screen Actors Guild is a big thing, and it's an accomplishment as an actor. Volunteering or being a part of these type of movies where you're able to get a union voucher is a big deal. Yeah. It really is.
Let's double down on this for a second, because I get this question a lot, and I kind of direct people on what I think is up, but we can all put it to bed right now with the proper information. So people ask me, like, how do I get a voucher? How do I get into SAG? Tell me.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So,
this is our SAG, right?
There's two, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's two ways, basically two ways. One is you do background performer and do extras.
You get a voucher.
You get a voucher.
background.
Yep.
You get a Taft-Hartley. That is your voucher, okay? And you need three in order to become officially eligible to join SAG. After that fact, you have a few options of what you can do, which is you can join right away if you feel like you're ready for it. Say you don't feel ready, but you want like one more shot at it, you can request what's called an OK30. And that is basically you have 30 days to work on a union set as much as you possibly can. In those situations, we always push for like someone that we know we can repeat, a repeating featured role, or like a stand-in.
Right.
Like, go get that working as
So
much
as
you
a
can.
casting director, do you have to get that for them, or do they have to apply for themselves?
They have
something
this-
they have to request.
Yes.
And SAG would have to grant.
Okay.
Based
Yeah,
on
so
SAG's
they would have
standard.
to request it. And then finally, it's your last step, which is you become a must pay. Which
Or
is basically
must join.
you must join, which is you have to join the union in order to keep doing union work, which makes sense because you've been given these opportunities. You've shown that you're eligible and able to do this. Take the next step.
Right.
And
it's a big thing because, we've been at this now, for 10 plus years in Buffalo. And I would say things are really starting to pick up now actively. And, we've had a lot of actors that, have been featured in films and been used in films. And now they're coming up to like that must join status. And I tell actors all the time, like, if you want to continue doing this, eventually you will have to join.
Yep.
All roads will lead to you joining the Screen Actors Guild if you want to continue, right? Yes. Otherwise, you can always, do non-union stuff and all that stuff, but what's the likelihood of it actually coming out or being distributed? The bigger things that come to town that are union-based, if you want to be a part of that, at some point, you're going to have to join the Screen Actors Guild.
And it could be advantageous to you just simply from a monetary standpoint.
Sure.
Right? There's a difference in the pay rate for union
Residuals.
versus non-union.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's all sorts of bumps and overtime and other things that you would be privy to that otherwise you don't get if you're non-union.
And we've mentioned this before where it's like, if you're serious about what your craft is, you can still take those background roles. I know sometimes it's like, okay, I feel like I'm a proper actor and I don't want to be taking background anymore. I want to just do speaking, but like...
Treat it as an exercise for yourself.
Exactly. I mean, it's always value to be on set and learn more and take more in as a sponge. Like, why not do that? And
you never know what could come from that.
It's a
either.
small
Well,
market.
I tell people, because people it'll come out, oh, I don't want to do background, no thank you. And again, everyone has their preference on what they want to do. But essentially being on set is how you network. That's how you're going to get to that next level. You're going to meet other people. Maybe that person that you're meeting, maybe they have agents. Maybe they are more aware of other jobs in other cities and things of that sort. You're, as casting directors, also, oftentimes we're on set. You get a chance to meet us, introduce yourself. This is where you actually get the chance to network versus saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to do it," and now you're not on set. And you're still in the same boat that you were versus actually coming on set and maybe it's not the role that you want, but you're still getting paid, you're doing what you love, and you're getting a chance to network.
And a lot of times, too, especially if it's a big budget movie, if the director sees something in you and you're just there as background, but he sees that maybe he wants to give you a line, just speaking hypothetically, we've seen it happen.
It happens all the time.
It's not totally out of the realm of possibility.
No, I mean, we had
It's
one.
It's
had a
not like
background
it happens every day, but it's not something that doesn't.
It's not uncommon.
Yeah.
There was a local SAG actress who was a background performer on the last film we did, and she thoroughly impressed, everyone on set, including the AD department. And when the next film came in, they requested her by name,
her, for sure.
And anyway. So guess what? She plays again. They recognize her again, be more friendly, network even more. And now you're going to get to the point that, if this film production comes back, which I believe that they are going to come back with more and more films, they know this person by name. And now when they audition for these roles,
become a trusted source.
They might either be something where they're going to be looking for her or reach out and be like, have this person audition.
Yeah.
Or she might come in that pile of auditions and be like, "Oh, we remember her,"
Right.
And boom, So there's so many options.
So it also happens just and as Harry was speaking, just it's not uncommon for you to be cleared as a background actor, and then all of a sudden someone needs to say a line. You just happen to be next to the principal character. Right? People get upgraded all the time on set, right? It happens all the time. So, but you have to be there. You have to be a part of it. You have to be in the mix in order to even be considered for those opportunities.
They might turn around and be like, okay, well, this situation just doesn't make sense if this person doesn't say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they'll go through the thing and be like, okay, you're upgraded to having
a speaking role.
Did it have a pay increase?
Oh,
Yes,
big
it
time.
is.
Big time.
Nice.
Now you are a principal actor. Because, and Kyle was mentioning about the ways to get into the Screen Actors Guild. So it's again, either you are a background actor and you're Taft-Hartley for, 3 different times, or you just get a speaking role, right?
Okay.
Now you're a principal. Now you're in the credits. Now your pay has increased. Now you're entitled to residuals. All of those things, just by being there.
So I was going to just hyper clarify the way to get the SAG card. Primary is from being in the background? Is that the primary way?
No, the primary way is to get a speaking role.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
That's you want a speaking role.
Both could be primary ways. It's just one's going to happen faster. You get a speaking role,
Well, yeah,
it'll
you're in.
be.
But like chicken and egg kind of thing, if you don't have your SAG card, are you not eligible for the speaking role or off the bat?
I mean, so a lot of these,
Okay.
and this is
Gotcha.
why I think a lot of actors, they're always auditioning for day players, for speaking roles, because that's their way in the door. But we also see it as like there's this weird catch-22 of like, okay, well, your goal is to ultimately be noticed, become a movie star, or at least have a role in which you're speaking regularly as an actor. But at the same time, you have to become part of the union.
Yeah.
So why not take the 2-prong approach and work on getting your card this way while you're working on getting the card the other way?
It's an active way to work on your eligibility.
I think that the biggest misconception that people have, especially actors within this region, they don't understand how difficult it really is in other places to get into the actors union. If you're in New York and LA, people go for years trying to get into the union. I mean, literally years. Yeah. In a smaller market, such as, Buffalo, Western New York, Syracuse, you have these union productions that essentially are because there is a lack of union actors, it's the easiest way to get your membership. Come on, do background, and you're able to get into the union versus people in New York or LA. They go years waiting for these opportunities.
And if you're able to get these 3 and you get the OK 30 status, and now you become this must join status, like that's actually something very honorable to the point of like this is your next step. Take that next step into it, because not many people have that chance to do that.
Right.
And I would say on this film alone, we've probably had 7 or 8 people who have made that next step and joined and become SAG actors. And now any film that comes in, like, we're gonna
They
give
get
you a
preference.
ring.
They get
Yeah.
preference first, and that's also the beauty of like being a SAG actor in a smaller market.
Yes.
Right. Because as casting directors, we have a certain quota of numbers, of SAG actors that have to play per day. So you get preference, right? There's not an abundance of SAG actors here. It's not LA, so it's not like, they're just everywhere. No, but if now you're SAG and you're in this smaller market, your phone's going to ring first, because that's what we're looking for.
I'm going to linger on this for one more second, because I think this is actually like with your target audience, a big thing. So to get a speaking role, if you're not in SAG, do they have to exhaust their SAG resources first?
No.
And so explain that to me. So I think there's a misconception about that, where people are like, "Oh, it's union. I'm not even going to try. I'm not in SAG."
No.
So, what do people do? How do they get?
For speaking roles in general, it's literally about just being the right person at the right time to get that role. Non-union people, which is a majority of actors out there, can audition, and they could get the speaking role, because in the end they're looking for a needle in the haystack, right?
Okay.
When you have a particular role, you want to find something specific, and if they find something specific and they are not a card carrying person, congratulations, you can still get that role, and now you become eligible to become a card carrier.
That's why they had the Taft-Hartley Act of 1947, because it allows producers to basically go around and use non-union members.
And and keep
They
in
have
mind,
to
as
give a
we do
reason
this,
why.
As we
Yeah.
do
Give a
this, we
reason
have
why.
to specify on that form what's the reason we're casting this actor, right? And it could be, maybe they have a specific look that the director's looking for. It could be, just a multitude of reasons, but
Could be the fact that the market doesn't reflect a membership base that had the availability to be in all the days of the movie.
Or a
that we needed.
unique quality.
skill. It could be a skill.
Yeah.
It could be a specific talent or something of that sort. Whatever it is, we have to find that, and then that's the justification that we give to the Screen Actors Guild of why we hired this non-union.
Because they
person
just
for
want to
this.
be sure that we aren't passing on union actors
Sure.
first and foremost.
And then at that point, they're non-union. They are the right one. It's a violin player. They found a non-union violin player. It's perfect. Do they then have to join the union, or is it just allowed that they can do it without joining the union?
No, so with the Taft-Hartley, they'll become eligible
Okay.
to join, and if you have a speaking role, automatically you have a chance. If you are just background, but you're a special ability like a violinist and all that, it's a voucher, and you have a chance to become eligible for it. But they don't have to join until it gets to the point of where you become a must join. And how this all works is like there are, SAG makes a contract with a feature film that comes in that tells them and says this many people for background on each day must be union vouchered, either be given Taft-Hartley's or they're SAG
already
Screen Actor Guild members that have to be. So we will then fill up that number as much as we can with SAG actors, and if there's anything that doesn't fit or we can't fill up or whatever because of the different requirements and needs, they will be Taft-Hartley'd. Chance to get in, right? In order to do that, what we have to do is we have to submit all of these actors within this number, union actors within the number, to a Station 12. And what a Station 12 is basically sending their information off to the Screen Actors Guild to clear them to sit there and say that either one, they're a SAG member,
Mm-hmm.
they are a non-registered member and have a chance to, and if they are a SAG member, are they up to date on their dues?
Right.
What's their
That's another
standing?
thing because
Are they
they
in
could
good
be
standing?
right. You could be a SAG actor and also not cleared to work because
Yeah.
you haven't paid
So
your
You
dues.
could land
So
your
for-
perfect role, and they
for
say, you owe
SAG
us a bunch of money, though.
Yeah, for sure.
For SAG members, it's more of a clearance on whether they're good to work or not. For non-SAG members, it's really just keeping track towards their eligibility.
Yes, exactly. So you're not registered. Okay, you're okay. You're moving towards eligibility. And then there's a point where, okay, you will hit a must pay, which is like, okay, it's time to join, you know, and you have to make that decision of like, am I going to join and move forward, or am I not going to?
And I think that there's for years, especially in this area, there was this stigma that was going around saying, oh well, if I joined, the Screen Actors Guild, then I can't do non-union stuff, just because traditionally in this area in the past, there has been more non-union work.
Yes.
But the tide is turning, right? And the market is picking up in Buffalo. And I tell actors all the time, yeah, there's definitely non-union work that's going on. But if you do that, for one, you're not guaranteed any pay. You're not
No
guaranteed
residuals.
no residuals. You don't know what type of conditions you're going to be in.
Your usage or
Absolutely,
buyouts. Or,
right?
Yeah.
There's so many disadvantages to that versus, joining. Now you're a part of the union. You know that you're guaranteed a certain dollar amount. You know that you are also going to be treated in a certain way. If there's other things that you bring to the set, you'll be given additional money, for that. So there's so many other benefits, and there's so much union work that's coming to the area now that I tell actors it's extremely beneficial for you to join at this point, especially if this is something you want to continue to do.
And not just for here, but also if you have the availability and flexibility to work outside of the region too, even not all that far away, but you're willing to go there, you'll get more work too. You know what I'm saying?
It sounds
if you
like
join.
someone in this market could do background 3 times, get to be SAG eligible when they're younger, and then move when they're in New York City. They're already SAG.
Go to New York, go to LA, go to Atlanta, and guess what? You're already SAG. You're in there, and you throw yourself into that market. And instead of maybe going to a city and your ultimate job is become that speaking role, but like wait tables and work as background
Right.
and keep working and keep networking and meeting people and.
I tell
your way
actors a lot also because it seems like once they do this, the next step when they get serious is like, oh well, I want to get an agent, I want to get some type of representation, someone out there fighting for you. I haven't seen one agent in my experience in doing this business, a high level agent that will take a non-union actor. I've never seen it. Right. So it's absolutely, it's just not a thing. Right. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, you can come to this, you can utilize Buffalo as a smaller market, making sure that you get enough vouchers to join the union. And now it also makes you sellable to a bigger agency.
Yeah.
Right. That, hey, you are in the union, that's a selling point for any actor. I've had several agents throughout my career, and prior to me joining the union, they wouldn't even look my direction.
And I think too, lastly, there's a lot of myths that like it's a stringent. You cannot do non-union work when you are in the union, and that's really not the reality. You just have to go through the proper channels or make the proper requests, and it's not as taxing or laborious as people think. I mean, there's a ton of union actors we know who do student films, all sorts of things. Like you can get the approval to do it. You just have to seek it. And because the reality is they want their union members to work, whatever the project is. They want their members to be working.
I think we should do a whole other episode about this because I feel like you could go into this for a real long time. I think we should move on, but I want to make sure that I understand it. So hopefully it's not grossly wrong.
We have you as our audience
Yeah.
here and to bring up the questions. And now I would love to see you.
I was going to regurgitate it real quick, though. I was going to say, so if someone asks me, I have to say to them, well, you have to be background 3 times on union shoots that will give you a card, or get a speaking role, just land it, and those are the avenues in.
Those are the avenues that you can
All
bring
right.
to the screen.
Now I know.
Absolutely.
Let's watch a scene with a lot of extras in it and do a little breakdown.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
All right. Scene breakdown. Let's do it.
All right.
For all of your insurance needs, make sure you contact Craig Willoughby over at Willoughby Insurance, 716-885-8100. Make sure you ask for Craig and tell him Casting Buffalo sent you for special rates. My boy Willoughby will when nobody will.
Look, if you work in film, you know how brutal the hours can be. Long days, unpredictable schedules. There's barely enough time to eat healthy for yourself, let alone work out before or after set. Staying in shape almost feels impossible. That's exactly why Ascend Fitness remote coaching exists. Whether you're on set or just juggling a busy life, this isn't a generic program. It's 100% customized to you, your schedule, your goals, your equipment, and even how you feel day to day. You'll get a fully personalized plan, expert coaching, and real accountability so you always know exactly what to do, no matter how crazy life gets. And right now, they're offering an exclusive deal. Sign up for 1 month and get the second month free, but only for the first 10 people. Spots will go fast. Go to trainascend.com and book your free coaching call before they're gone.
Looking for an unforgettable dining experience in Buffalo? Head to Daniela Restaurant, where every bite feels like home. Whether you're craving classic Italian favorites or exploring something new, Daniela's menu has something for everyone, from handcrafted pastas made with love and the finest ingredients. And it's not just about the food. Daniela's warm, welcoming atmosphere is perfect for a date night, family dinner, or special celebration. Plus, with a carefully curated wine list, the perfect pairing is just a sip away. So why wait? Head over to Daniela today. Come for the food. Stay for the experience.
Do you love horror movies? Here on Getting Scarried Away, we sit down to talk about what we love about the genre, shout out fellow horror creators, and spill buckets of useless horror knowledge for your next trivia night. Join me, Ricky Needham, and my co-host, Rhiannon Needham, as we dive headfirst into your favorite horror movies. Subscribe today anywhere you get your podcasts.
Wow. Yeah.
Would this be our ritual? We heal our people. We be free.
Amazing clip. Amazing. You know, the first time I saw that, of course, being in the theaters, you know, watching it, I think the overall theme of it is talking about like how music and performance really affects our spirits and souls.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And to have almost every facet of music that affected especially like black culture, you know, I mean, they got hip hop dancers in there. I mean, you know, they have, you got to think even like, some you could tell like they're African
Different variations.
right, variations
genres
of genres of music that affects the soul. I just thought was brilliant to do, man.
And how, you know, one genre affects the other genre.
Right.
I mean, like you even in a dance too.
From that,
how
absolutely.
that falls into just interpretation of everything. I think this scene alone the movie is fantastic to begin with.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Coogler is just eating as a director, and you hit this scene and it just everything's in high gear and elevates the whole entire prestigiousness of this film.
And it's almost shot like a oneer too.
Yes.
It is like a oneer.
It's almost shot like a oneer. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Where you do have characters that are wiping the camera where they could, cut, but it doesn't feel that way.
There's a pole in the middle that I was like, maybe that's the seam. I don't. And obviously, they didn't burn the building down with everyone in there. But they did it so seamlessly. My first time watching it was on a 1.5-inch screen, and I still thought it was incredible.
Yeah.
How it was intended, even though it was shot in
Right,
IMAX.
yeah. Well, so I noticed
One
that
and
too.
a half inch stream. What were you watching it
On the Jelly Star. The Unihertz Jelly Star.
Oh my
We'll do a little
gosh, yeah.
plug for the Unihertz
Wow.
Jelly Star. Are you
That
tired
didn't
of
do it
scrolling
any
too
justice.
much?
I just got to say that.
But it
What
did.
Ryan
but here's the
Coogler
thing.
intended.
Here's the thing. It did though, because I was tiny screen and I was like locked in,
Right.
and it's hard to get locked in on the Jelly Star.
He spent so much time to get 70 millimeter IMAX cameras for that.
For this. But right in the beginning, the aspect ratio opened up too. They were ready for a big scene.
Absolutely.
Made it IMAX, made it the taller square ratio, and then just a
And
brilliant
it's
wonder.
it's not a lot of, you got to think, it's one character kind of singing, it's a performance shot, but it says so much, you know what I mean, without even saying any lines. There's a brief voiceover in it talking about how, music affects the soul, and then it talks about like past and present. Yeah. And then that's when you see all the characters, and it's just so rich in culture, talking about how, again, music just affects our soul. It was just brilliant, man, on all aspects.
And we just mentioned about like how important background is, right? That whole entire scene was
Absolutely.
background performers.
Could not have done that without every single person in there.
And with special abilities,
Right.
and with, you know what I mean? Like that scene is putting background front and center
100%.
in every aspect.
I was literally watching the background because I was looking for because I saw it once already, right? I'm like, how did they do it? Like, am I going to see some rando person like hiding in the back waiting to
Somebody's
jump out
in the
to me?
back picking their nose. No.
I saw nothing. Yeah, I saw nothing. It was
Right.
totally tight. It was
Everyone's
totally tight.
in
yeah.
character. You
Yeah.
have, everyone is in costume, garb. It's a period piece, but then they mix in all the different cultures. It was just phenomenal, man. And that is also a prime example of how the background actors carried that scene.
Yes.
Right?
They told the story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They told the story. They carried the scene. Just a perfect example of why it's important. You know what I mean? And it's although their background, they're just as important as the principals.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we just spoke with Keith, costumes, and how like we have to also art direct and serve for our background for the story, and like they needed to find every single person that fits what they're looking for casting, and to make sure that this scene works. And
And the
all-
choreography.
I was in the choreography, the
You know what I'm saying?
rehearsals, the blocking, the
What?
staging.
Right.
Like it is really a master class.
I'm imagining someone running out with like a DJ table, like flopping down a DJ deck.
I was
Because at
gonna
one
say,
point
you
it's just
didn't
like,
see
then
the
next
DJ was
shot,
in there.
Get it
Yeah.
out of the way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Right,
like
for
having
sure.
all that rehearsed of where's camera going and what lights are showing what, and because they have to light that entire
Yeah.
scene
Yeah.
evenly and hide lights and hide
And the
you know,
camera's moving nonstop.
nonstop.
Yeah.
It's just brilliantly done. And then for story too, like this film is, at the core, it's about how like cultural can be stolen.
Yeah.
Right. And we end this film, or end this scene in which we reveal Remick, who is our main villain into this, and we've seen a scene before of him one time, and we've kind of heard about him, and now he's there. He's coming to do what he wants, which is steal their culture as a cultural vampire.
Yeah.
And
Call them
that-
culture vultures.
Yeah, exactly.
culture vultures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing. And that whole entire scene is setting up everything that happens in the next half of this film. Brilliantly done again.
Right.
And just a master class by Ryan in every aspect of, writing.
On top of,
Directing.
hold on. Are you familiar with the deal that he struck for this as well?
I don't think I am.
Oh man! So the deal, and again, you'll have to look it up. I don't know all the specifics, but Ryan will retain ownership of this movie for a certain amount of time, right?
No, after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
it's, was it 25 years or
Something
something
like that, like 20 or
he
30.
actually gets
All of it.
all of it back, right? And me watching interviews, of him doing this, he mentioned that was so important. Now you got to think other directors. I mean, James Cameron hasn't done that.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg hasn't done that. Right. So what he did was he revolutionized a new wave of like how he can negotiate with the studio.
It's so smart because like now in this age of remakes,
Yeah.
recasts, and sequels, like he is protecting his intellectual property
Right.
25 years from now or however long from now to be like, oh no, you get to play in this world as much as you can and then I own it. And if I want to properly make a sequel to this, I'll do it.
And it's you know, watching other interviews with him, for him it was extremely important for like ownership, you know.
Yes.
And that's kind of what, you know, these brothers, you know, that Michael B. Jordan, you know, that they play. They're talking about this Mississippi juke joint. It's about black ownership.
Yes.
You know what I mean? During that time. So he was not, you know, he didn't want to sell this movie giving away his ownership rights. You know what I mean? And it's something that completely revolutionized the deals that will be made with directors and studios going forward.
And it's the film itself, I think, is one of the most complete films that I've seen in, I don't know, a decade.
Yeah.
Because it's the story and the characters and the world he creates is just so complete. And you could make sequel after sequel and see,
sure.
I want to follow this character. I want to see where Remick came from. I want to see,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like you can go in all this different directions and it's so rich that it's, you know, this movie is about culture shock and culture vultures and everything like that I don't know. It's just a brilliant movie by Ryan.
It is. Just the deal he struck, how he shot it, everything.
And he stuck to it, even in his deal.
Right. In his deal, yeah, stuck to the ownership aspect of it, to have his rights, you know, down the line, you know, for this movie. So,
and
brilliant.
if you haven't seen the film, like, run to see it.
Yeah.
If you had the chance to see it in IMAX, if they do a re-release, you know, jump to see it in that aspect ratio because it just widens how gorgeous that world is. You know, this is shot on film.
Yeah.
It's
IMAX film, big
IMAX,
film.
big film,
Yeah.
big cameras. There's certain ways that you can shoot it in. It's just amazing. And he went to the school of Christopher Nolan to make this happen. And it's like, and to be like, hey, I want to present this film this way because it deserves the stage that it's presented on.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very happy that it's a horror film on top of that.
Right? For sure, man.
Some would say that everything about this is just major league moves.
Major league moves.
And on that note, why don't we recast Major League?
We're going to transition and
Just bam.
Yeah. I think, you know, what we were talking as a group and, you know, we were trying to stick to the theme of like sports. You know, we just were coming off of, you know, finishing, you know, this big sports movie that we did. And I got to thinking and I said, man, like, you know, what's a movie that's rich in characters?
Yes.
Rich, you know what I mean?
Huge characters.
And,
Yeah.
Huge.
and could deserve a good solid remake of it.
Why haven't they done
You
it?
know, it's you know, and Harry mentioned too, like, pre-summer movie.
Yeah.
It's baseball. It's
Come on.
You know what I mean? Like it's America's pastime.
Come on.
And these characters are so good.
Yeah.
So
Sure,
good.
sure,
So yeah, let's recast Major League.
So
Who do we got?
Well, we got Jake Taylor, who was originally Tom Berenger.
Okay.
Ricky, the Wild Thing Vaughn, who was Charlie Sheen, who, when I was a kid, I thought was really cool in this role.
Oh, yeah.
Willie Mays Hayes, who was Wesley Snipes, who I also thought was very cool in this role. And Pedro Serrano, who was originally Dennis Haybert.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know?
Who's got the most iconic
Come on,
line.
the deep voice.
Yes.
You know? Come
most
on, man.
iconic line in
The
the
insurance, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say
insurance,
selling insurance these days.
Let's start with Jake Taylor. So let's go big, and then we'll go down to the smaller characters. Only because I think the smaller characters have so much, I don't know, their richness, fun,
For sure.
uniqueness to it. So Jake Taylor, originally Tom Berenger.
I got John Hamm here. I think
Okay.
he's a guy who's
like
seen it all. He knows how to win. That's who I got.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
I like the John Hamm. For my same ideas, like I love Tom Berenger. He's such a great actor. But he's that like
Rigid,
rigid,
tough guy.
tough.
edgy,
chiseled, but
weathered.
But also has this like American boy soul to him. You know. I went Josh Brolin.
All right.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
I went Josh Brolin. I feel like I can see him very much in this role, and also is like a broken down catcher who's kind of a little bit past his prime and doesn't know how to, move on, or if he should, and kind of take that next leap, and he could be replaced, and it could be his last season. American boy, comes from Hollywood, so mine was Josh Brolin.
I can get with that. Harry, what's yours?
So I went with Sean Bean.
Okay.
So I was trying to find. I needed somebody who I felt like brought the badness factor, to it. Just the roughness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got a edgy, rough
chisel. Yeah, he's just been weathered. He's been around for a while and all that. Sean Bean's a fantastic actor. He's usually villains, so this is a nice little role for him to be like, "Oh, you're the good guy."
Gotcha. I'm gonna go with Hugh Jackman.
Good,
All
right?
Yeah.
Hugh is, he can do a weathered look, with his hair, depending on how he does it. He has the build, for it, like a former athlete. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I would say. Hugh Jackman.
Fit the mold.
Yeah,
they fit the mold for sure. All right.
I mean, next on my list is Ricky Wild Thing Bomb, but should we save that for the finale?
Let's save it for the finale.
Okay, so let's save Willie Mays Hayes too for second last.
Pedro?
So Pedro Serrano, originally
Serrano.
Dennis Haysbert, who is not an actor I think I'd be familiar with otherwise.
Yeah, he's kind of like nice little niche, and everybody knows Pedro Serrano.
No, for sure.
I went Terry Crews.
Oh, that's
that was on my
a
list.
good one.
Yeah.
I like that.
A little ridiculous.
For sure.
You can see him being in this role,
Yeah.
eating that up.
I see
Former athlete. He was a football
Yeah,
player.
he did.
Sure, he
He
could
did.
be a baseball player.
He did.
I don't know. I think he could just this edgy craziness, voodoo.
Definitely
for
got
sure.
the comedy vibe.
Oh yeah.
No, for sure. I think what's interesting too is like, so Dennis, he plays Pedro Serrano, who I think by character he was like Cuban.
I think so.
Yeah.
It was like Cuban or
Yeah.
something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, he knew voodoo rituals.
Yeah.
Or was it
yeah.
Bohemian?
He
I
might have
don't
been
know.
Haitian,
Yeah, I was
either
gonna say.
Haitian or Cuban or something of that sort. I went and you mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I went with Winston Duke.
Yeah, it's a great choice.
Yeah,
I thought
went with
about him
Winston
too.
Duke, man. Just a bigger dude. You know what I mean? Intimidating, because you got to understand. Back then, also Pedro Serrano was like scary.
Yeah.
To a lot of the players. He was muscular. He was jacked. You know what I'm saying? Like he broke the bat one time in a scene. He breaks the bat.
Yeah.
Breaks the bat over his thigh. You know what I mean? You got to be a serious dude to do that.
I thought of Winston Duke too,
Right.
and I just didn't because I already chose him for something else in the past, and I'm like, okay, I gotta find something else.
No.
Amazing choice.
I went with Anthony Mackie for this one.
Oh,
Okay.
Anthony, yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And here's the thing that people don't know. Anthony Mackie is a big dude.
Well, he also, I feel like
for real.
looking at him, I went with him solely because I thought he really looks like he could have played baseball.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
If you told me he was a baseball player, I'd
You
be like,
believe it?
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
for sure.
I went with Michael Clark Duncan.
Oh yeah.
Just for the sheer massive scariness of it, but also imagining him saying, "F you, Joe Boo."
I do it myself.
That's like,
F you, Joe Boo.
I
I do it
miss
myself.
that man so much.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
He
Michael
was
Clark.
brilliant.
He was. Really good actor.
Very good. All right.
yeah. So I guess we'll do Willie Mays Hayes next, who was an incredible character. I haven't seen this since I was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And when you brought it up, I was like, oh, I got to rewatch that. Like, I forgot that existed. And that was classic for me when I was a kid. But I wasn't supposed to watch it. Like, it was like, you can't watch it. It was like, yeah, okay.
No.
Okay, I won't.
For sure.
But then
This
then you
was
do.
one that, like, when I'm growing up, like, I always mixed up Major League 1 and Major League 2.
Oh yeah.
For some reason, because it was like,
yeah.
I feel like it's just a continuation.
Right.
But I also mixed up who played Willie Mays Hayes when I was a kid, because I'm pretty sure it was Wesley Snipes in
Snipes.
this one, and then I think Omar Epps took over.
Yeah, Omar. They replaced them.
They replaced
them with Omar Epps in the second one. That is right. I forgot about that. Yeah, I think keep in mind, Wesley Snipes, like that. This was early in his career,
Yes.
and then I think when Major League 2 came out, he was probably
Oh, yeah,
a
he
big
was a
ticket.
big star.
Yeah, he was a big ticket then.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Omar Epps played him the
And
second.
he did great.
Yeah, he did.
did great.
He did.
So funny. Who do you got?
So for me, I would go with for that Willie Mays role. I'm gonna go with Omari Hardwick.
Oh,
He has, a lot of, components to be an athlete. You know what I'm saying? Really good actor. I say Omari Hardwick.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
I'm going to say Omar Epps.
That's it.
Gonna go.
Yeah, he's not too old.
Hilarious.
Oh, really? I had Donald Glover.
Donald Glover. Oh, wow.
All right.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yo, that's really good. I didn't
That
even
is
see
good.
that.
I
That's
didn't-
awesome.
I didn't think
That's
that was
awesome.
it.
That's
Aligned on that one.
I could
for
see
sure.
that.
I think
Yeah,
he'd be
for sure.
brilliant in that. He's just
Yeah, he
Yeah.
would be.
got that comedy. I also think of like him in Community, what he
Yeah.
did in Community. Like this is Willie Mays Hayes, and
Yeah.
then he could take the seriousness, but like
I like that. Donald Glover was a good one.
comedian,
I went with Michael J. White.
Yeah, Michael
Okay.
J. I got it.
For sure.
For sure. He could do that. He's a bigger dude, a little older now, but you know what I'm saying? Like, Michael J. is an athlete, period.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean, just period.
And it looked like keeping in line with a baseball team to me.
Yeah.
It was like just work.
I was to say everybody takes their own little angle, and like normally I would do that, and for some reason, the more I looked at it, I was like, okay, I need this mixture of like comedy,
Yeah.
and also
yeah.
with like drama, which that's where my Josh Brolin is.
I like it.
But I'm also looking at it like, what if this movie was probably made 10, 15 years ago? Because it would make more sense.
Right.
But yeah, I went more comedy.
Last but not least, Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn, Mr. Tiger Blood himself, Charlie Sheen. So some would say irreplaceable in this role, but what do we got?
Well, we talked about this a little bit. Like, it's a bad boy image.
I don't think that they exist anymore.
Yeah, it's hard.
Do they? Like, so I was thinking about that, and I'm thinking, like, keep in mind, he had, his hair was like, he had a mohawk then.
Such an 80s, 90s trope.
Right.
Right?
Right. But Charlie Sheen was like, I can't say he was a bad boy then, but he was like on the cusp of his career. Like, he fit it perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have a lot of actors that have that same imagery that could still do that.
So I do have to jump in because we are talking about like this kind of actor, and my choice was mentioned Pedro Pascal. So he's
Okay.
Okay.
we're
Okay.
talking about
I get
people
that.
like the new
new
stereotype
Yeah,
of
the new
actor.
age, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's
I like
got
that.
like a little bit of a wild side. He can
Yeah.
be kind of crazy.
I respect that.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll go with Channing Tatum. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? I think
Yeah.
that
It's on my
you know,
radar.
Yeah, I just think that if we're gonna talk about that, he can play a variety of different roles. You know what I mean? And if we're gonna say bad boy, maybe he embodies that now. Little
Sure.
Magic Mike in there. I don't know. You know what I mean? But
Attractive wild card.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of what we're looking for.
I went with Will Poulter.
Will Poulter's good.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a good
Will
choice
Poulter.
and all that. He's a very good actor.
Yeah, he's good. To me, he encompasses some of the like American boy that you're looking for in this character.
Yeah.
And he also, to me, looks like somebody who could play baseball.
See, exactly. It fits
You
your
were going for
mold.
the people that look like they
Perfect.
could play baseball.
I was fielding a baseball.
yeah.
That's good. I went a little wild card here because it's Wild Thing, and I went with Zac Efron.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, I
right.
can see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
See that?
I
For
could see
sure.
that too.
To
sure.
me, I'm like, there's your little bit of your bad boy after the High School Musical phase. Because I'm thinking like when Neighbors came out,
Okay.
like he played the frat boy. And,
Yeah.
Isn't he like jacked now from the wrestling
is.
movie?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He is for
You
sure.
know,
Sure.
but I can see him putting those glasses on and
Oh man, yeah, glasses. I forgot that the
Yeah.
glass. That's such a
little
great
crazy
movie,
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
Fastball, man.
I went Zac Efron. I
Awesome.
like his comedic chops. I do.
I'm like programmed to like not like Zac Efron for no reason at all, but
good,
stupid.
though.
Like no, it looked like from like stupid like because when I was an adult and he was like a younger actor. It was
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that guy.
Oh, the little girls loves him.
No, yeah. Like, it's totally irrational.
Right.
So now I have to like reprogram myself on that. to
Yeah,
be like,
I mean, for me, I think it was like when Neighbors came out, it was a good reprogram.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, this guy's good. And I actually thought of Dave Franco for a second.
I
too.
thought about that too.
Yeah,
for
like
sure. I thought
he would have
about
been
that, too.
interesting in this. But then I'm like, no, Zach would eat it up and it would be fun.
The other person I had to get over was it Robert Pattinson? Is that his name? Pattinson?
Yes. Yeah.
From Twilight, because I
The
was
Batman?
like, Twilight guy, yeah. I had to
Yeah.
reprogram myself to not think that he's like, oh, the young heartthrob. But really, who cares? Like, why have a stigma about a young man actor?
Well,
I think at the time I was a different person.
Well, a part of this business, I think, in acting in general, is about how do you break the trope,
Yeah.
right? Because, and you've spoken to actors a lot this too, the way in the door is through the trope, and then it's breaking the trope.
Right. You have to. I think that it's sometimes you can get in, and in this business, there's no right or wrong way. There's no one set method to get in.
Yeah.
But the goal is to continue to work, right? So to get in, but you got to break that mold if you want other roles. You know what I'm saying? And that just comes in showing diversity and showing what you can do. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and one that broke this trope, which is in this movie, is Wesley Snipes. right?
Wesley Snipes for sure.
It was after this, it was just all right. No, I'm a serious actor.
Yeah, because Willie Mays Hayes was really funny. There's,
yeah.
there's a scene where he sleeps outside, and then he wakes up and they're already doing practice and he gets up and he hops and he runs. You know what I mean? To first base. And that was entertaining, man. That was funny. You know what I mean? But Wesley also has really good comedic timing. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he can do both.
But and someone similar to that is I guess he would actually be a great Willie Mays Hayes too, is Jamie Foxx, right?
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
Because that's that same theory of, and
Yeah.
he broke that mold. He came in as a comedian,
Comedian. Yep.
and then no, I'm look
Absolutely,
at me,
for sure.
what I can do. So I think this has been a great episode to really speak directly to our main audience of,
Remarkable,
of,
yeah.
of actors.
Absolutely.
Because we're talking about being in the union, not being in the union, but also the importance of background players. If you and you can make a career out of that if you want to as well. To just learning about your tropes and go from there. I think we've kind of covered a lot this episode.
And I think that the goal, what a lot of actors just have to remember, even from the union status, for me as an actor, the goal is always to work,
Yes.
right? It's to work. What good is a plumber if he's not doing any plumbing jobs, right? What good is an electrician if he's not doing that stuff? So you're an actor, right? Today we kind of laid out how important all facets, of production is. Like I said, whether you're a principal or you're a background actor, the goal is to work no matter what.
We're filmmakers. We're going to keep working on films,
Gotta.
right?
Absolutely.
All right. I am Kyle Mecca.
I'm Peter Johnson.
I'm Harry Lipsitz.
This was Podcasting Buffalo. That's a wrap.
I love you.